my friends. So we are here today and we want to give you guys a lot of great information, and it all is going to be around numbers. And what we want to showcase for you today is, very simply put, is numbers do not lie. And if you learn to use them to your advantage, you will, I promise, gain a lot. So today we want to show you the numbers behind you becoming a homeowner. We want to show you a little bit of the history of what that would have looked like in the last 10 years. You know, we're going to compare if you would have rented the last 10 years, and we're going to compare that to if you would have owned the last 10 years. But then I'm going to ask you guys, some questions, but most importantly, I'm going to project forward 10 years from now. So many of you guys, after you're looking at the numbers, you guys, it's going to be super interesting information, but you might say, well, that's all great and dandy, Nora, but how can I look at the numbers from here on out? And we're going to do just an estimate, pushing out 10 years forward, and you guys are hopefully going to get an idea of what I'm trying to tell you and what I'm trying to show you with numbers. So today, that's what it's all going to be about. So please stay tuned and stay for the whole show. We also want to invite you to ask any questions during this video so we can get back to you and really help you clear this up. We want to, hopefully with numbers, tell you and show you really what the advantages would be for you. And really, so you can understand also the disadvantages. Being informed is such an important thing. And I know we're living in the era of information right now where there's so much of it out there, and sometimes it can be confusing. So my goal today is to give you guys a lot of details and really go thoroughly over, the history and the future of why I'm telling you that you should move forward and purchase and own your own home. So let's get started right away. So numbers, it's nothing that I'm making up, my friends, but numbers have been an important part of our human existence. We use numbers, in science, we use numbers like technology, we use numbers in language. There is really no important area of our lives where we don't use numbers, and those numbers help us calculate and really grow, right? Expand and mainly really advance our civilization. So numbers are important in everywhere you really find them. And so today I want to show you guys how they apply to you here in the real estate market. So let's get started there. So again, I mentioned to you, I'm going to do a quick estimate of rental, and I'm going to do a quick estimate of owning. And I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to go back to history. Let's go back to history a little bit. Let's take a look here, my friends. I'm going to go back to history on this, and I'm going to show you kind of what was going on, okay? So here you can clearly see on my end, we're going down the line, 2013, 14, 15. You can see to the left side that there's the rental income that you would have paid, and then on the right side, it's your approximate mortgage. You're going to see that these numbers are an approximate number according to the data that we have from those years. And so we're going to get into it real quick. Let's look back at 2013. So when we look at 2013, give me one quick second here. Excellent. So we look at 2013, I can show you this record. This is public record on this property. I'm not going to give you the address, but I'm going to tell you we were part of this transaction in 2013. You can see clearly in this area here, my friends, 2013, this property was purchased back then, 217, and it actually was purchased by an investor who did a quick remodel and then put it right back on the market and sold it again. 7-8 months later in 2014. So if we were to get the price that it was purchased at 2014, let's use the 153,500 as the estimate, okay, for the approximate loan. So that's what we're going to base it off of in regards to the numbers. So now that we go back to the numbers, let me take a look here. Let's see here real quick. Now that we go back to the numbers, now we can look at basically what we're seeing here is 2013, your monthly rent back then for a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, is around $850. And many of you might say, well, that's a great rental. I wish there was houses, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths for $850 right now. We know there is none, my friends, but back then there was. And so $850 was really kind of a ballpark for you to get a rental with 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Now, if you turned around and bought that house for $153,000, same thing, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, then you were looking at approximately, your mortgage payment was approximately $800. So back then, it was cheaper to own it than to rent it by $50. But you know, it's a small amount, but it's still something that's significant. And so that was 2013. If we go down the list, and I can do this with you guys, you know, I can do this with you guys basically throughout the, you know, I can do this throughout the last 10 years. I'm going to show you guys the comps real quick. 2015, 2014. Let's take a quick look here. Okay. Bear with me. Awesome. Okay. So here we are. This is 2015. So 2015, you can see 203. So prices continued. They went up in price point. This is about 2 years later. So we were at 203. So again, we go back to the estimate, 215, which is about 2 years later. Same house. Maybe you're going to pay for it $950 in rental. You could see, you can basically see it right here. So you're at $950 for rental, and you're at $1,000 if you decided to purchase, if that would be your mortgage, right? So we're kind of comparing that. We're going down the line, and we can pretty much continue looking at this all the way, you know, 10 years into it. So I'll give you guys another quick estimate real quick here of once we start going in the year 2017, year 2018, you know, 2016, let's take a quick look at 2016 so you guys can take a look here. 2016, 175. You might say, well, why was a property cheaper in 2015, more expensive 2015 than 2016? Well, it just had to do with maybe the condition of the property, maybe the size. They were equally, you know, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I can show you really quick. Here, they were equally, let me show you, see if it pulls up pictures for you guys. Equally, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-story house. But maybe, you know, the area, maybe the condition of the property wasn't the same. And so you were able to get something, you know, ballpark, right? So here we have it. This is kind of the history of the property, and you can kind of see what it looks like, right? So this was 2015. And again, when we're looking at the numbers 2015, we're looking at it being, what is it? 2016, 175 approximately, right? 175. So we're looking at this, and why am I showing this to you? Well, because I want to show you guys, you know, in this little estimate, 10 years have passed by. 2013, 2015, you're buying houses for 175, you're buying houses for 200, then you're moving along, buying houses for 250, 300, basically to the point where we are today, and I'll show you guys where we are today in the market. But what I want to show you is, please, let's look at comparing the rental and comparing the rental and comparing the mortgage. So if you look at our estimate here, you will see very quickly that pretty much the difference between renting it and owning it, you're about $50, maybe $100, you know, all the way down to 2018. Basically, it really interchanged from being cheaper to own versus renting. Sometimes it was cheaper to rent than to own, but the difference was really insignificant when we're talking about maybe $50, right? $100. Once we move from this category and we get closer to, let's get closer to 2013, you start to see the increase in the mortgage payment because prices are going up. So 2019, you guys could see here, we start seeing houses that are a bit more expensive. 2020, 1,800, 2021, 2,000, 22, and here we are. Today, 2023, we're basically at 2,700. I'll show you guys an estimate of a property in that price point. That property in that price point, you're basically looking at this one here, 412. Okay, so if you guys are looking at this one, 412, and you're saying, well, your monthly payment would end up being right around the 2,700 with the interest rates that we currently have and all of that good stuff. So that's where I pulled these numbers from. That's where I pulled up these estimates, my friends. It's basically from really the price of the house that you're paying in comparison to in comparison to the interest rates as well. So again, looking at all of this, what we see here is we say, okay, great. Now, Nora, are you trying to make a, are you trying to make a statement, a winning statement to purchase? Because it looks like it's way more expensive to buy than to rent, because that same house today, maybe the mortgage of that same house would be $2,300 versus $2,700. Same thing, you start seeing that the difference between owning and renting, the gap is a little bit bigger, right? It used to be $50, it used to be $100. Now you're looking at maybe $200, $300 difference, maybe even a $400 difference between renting and owning. So many of you, that's the justification that you guys give me, right? You say, you know what, Nora, it's way cheaper just to rent, and I'm going to save about $300-$400, and I'm okay with that, right? Okay with renting that same house for $2,300 instead of buying it for $2,700. I'm saving some money every time. And I'm telling you, you're right. If you're listening to that and you're comparing that to today, you're correct. You are saving about $300 every single day. Now, what I want to do right now with my presentation and my calculation, and where I want to show you where the math is important and where it matters, is in this next portion of it. Okay, so we get it. It's clear. Over the last 10 years, rents were cheap. Rents got more expensive, and the same thing with houses. Houses were cheaper, and now they're more expensive. Over the 10 years, we can say there was a $100 gap, but now the gap is much bigger, right? It could be $300, $400 difference between renting and owning. And so many of you are, basically justifying staying as a renter versus owning, and I get it, right? I get why it is that way. But now I want to show you the interesting part, right? Which is the next part. So the interesting part here is, if we look at, now we're going to start doing the math. This is where we're going to start really utilizing the numbers and doing the math so that we can get clarity and we can understand exactly where we all stand. And you hopefully can make a decision and say, okay, great, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense for me. And please, challenge me, and please ask questions in these videos, in our segment. Reach out to us and our team so that we can help you, understand, or maybe, we can go back and forth on maybe a topic where you feel extremely that it's important, or maybe you feel that it's not correct. Maybe you're paying $500 in rent, a month in rent, and that's what you're paying. But the truth is, if we go based on the market value of rent and the market value of houses, we're probably going to be right around those numbers. So here I want to show you the same example, but again, now doing the math. So now if I do the math, we're taking the monthly payment, which simple, $850 times 12. So basically 2013, you spent $10,200 in rents. And then we're going to do that across over to the aisle, and let's say we do that in every single year. Okay, so we're doing that every single year. Here you're basically 10,000, 10,000, 11, 11,000, 12,000, 15,000, and here you're basically around the same, right? Now let's keep going. Let's take it all the way to 2023. So we continue 19 to 2023. You can start seeing 16,000 a month, 18, 21, 24, 27,000 a year. A year. So you go over to the category of owning, and where you're at here, well, you're a little bit more expensive. You're paying a little bit more for those mortgages. So technically we're at 19, 22, 24, 28, 32 a year for your home, for your property. Okay. And you might say, well, Nora, okay, the math, I see it. What's the point? Well, all I'm asking is, you all have different price points. You all have different rental agreements. You all have seen things change differently. So your rent that you've paid in the last 10 years might be completely different. But I suggest and I invite you to do the math on your side. So do the math. Were you paying $1,000 for 2 years? Okay, let's add that up. 1,000 times 24 months. And then from there, they increase the rent to how much? And then from there, and do your total for the 10 years. Take a look at that. It's going to be important because that way you can kind of follow me along as I'm doing this report. So do the math for the last 10 years. How much rent have you paid? And once you get to that number, it's going to get interesting, right? And so what are we doing here? We've done the number for every single year. Now we're going to add all of the years together. And here is the number, okay? Let's see here. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. It's not wanting to cooperate with me. Let's go. Let's go. There we go. Let's go here. Okay. Now, we're going to leave that to the side really quick, and we're going to focus on equity. Okay, so we're going to leave the math to the side. We're going to come back to that math a little bit later. Now we're going to focus on the equity, okay? We're going to focus on what sort of benefit have you had in the last 10 years or gain, right? So here, if we're looking at, every single year, basically, 2013 to 2023, as a renter, every single year, you have gained $0. There has been $0 in value, gain, equity, whatever you want to call it, it's zero, okay? And that's the reality. Now let's look at 2013, okay? So 2013, it was zero because they bought the house that year, right? They bought the house 2013, so technically speaking, there was zero gain. But if we keep going down the list here, 2014, 2015, and basically where the value is today. And I can share with you where the value is today. I'm going to share with you the comparables that I've prepared for this client. So let's just use this as an example. The family Hernandez, that's who bought that property in 2013. They purchased this property for, like I mentioned, $153,000. So what do they have the ability to do today? Well, the ability that they have to do today, the ability that they have to do, what they have to do today is all they got to do is call us so we can give them an estimate, right? And so what are they going to do here? They're going to say, gosh, I bought it 2013. I want to know what the value is today, Nora. How much money am I going to get to keep from this property now that I want to sell it, right? So basically, that's the conversation that is happening basically with the Hernandez family, okay? So when that's happening, when that's the case, we come forward and we do a quick estimate. And in this quick estimate, you guys are able to look at the property values in the area, the comparison, what type of house, right? And so here you guys could see, let's take a look here. Here you guys could see basically what's been going on in the area. And basically the median price, let's take a look here. The median price, my friends, for this property, we've come up with the number, and it's going to be right around $360,000. So $360,000 would be the price that we suggest for the Hernandez family today if they wanted to sell their property, okay? So that is the difference between being an owner, being a renter. Today, they have something that they can go ahead and do, right? They're not going to be like the renter who has absolutely zero gain. They don't have an asset. They don't have a property. An owner has the asset, has a property. And so today, 2023, basically what the conversation is Nora, I want to sell, what's going to be my gain? And so basically when we do this estimate and we do this comp, we let them know. We're like, excellent. Let's do the math. And the math is basically the following. I'm sorry, guys, I am having a hard time with my PowerPoint today. All right, so here we are. So the math is very simple. If they sold the property today for $360,000, they reduced the balance or what they purchased the property for, which the property, they bought it for $153,500. If they do the math on that, they're going to end up with $206,000, $206,500. That is their equity, okay? I'm not covering cost of selling, which is also an important piece of it, which is going to be, it's going to dig into the equity that they have, but I'm going to cover that a little bit later, and I'm going to show you why I did not include it here. But right here, we're basically saying, after 10 years of them buying this property, they bought it in 2013, today, if they cashed out completely and they said, you know what, I don't want this house, I don't want to be in Vegas anymore, whatever the case may be, they want to change completely what's going on in their life, well, guess what they can do? We'll sell it, we'll list it, and in their hands, they would be getting a check approximately for $206,000, okay? The difference is huge when you compare that to zero over here. I hope you guys could see that very, very clearly, because Over here, you guys are on the left side as being a renter every single year. There was no gain, no value. On the right side, being an owner, if they want to cash out in 2023, they're going to be walking out with 206 cash in their hands. Okay, so that's the main difference. So if we look at their story, it's very simple. The renter has been renting since 2013. The buyer, Familia Hernandez, has been bought this in 2013. And let's talk about the expenses, all of the expenses that went into buying, right? Because it's normal and it's important. You know, when you're going to buy a house, you need to come up with your down payment and the expenses. So in 2013, approximately, they would have spent around $9,000, close to $10,000 for their down payment, okay? For their down payment and their closing costs. Because remember, the house they bought was $153,000. And their down payment was 3.5% down, and their closing costs another 3%. The total of those two major costs in the process of purchasing, those two, the total is $9,300. So $10,000, let's say. And now, what did they need to do? Well, maybe put a deposit down for the house that they rented back in 2013. So let's say it's $1,000 deposit, and many of you say, well, way cheaper, right? $1,000 deposit, and I agree with you. Excellent. It is less, much less than the $9,000, right? But if we keep on going and doing the math, if we add up all of the rents back when you guys saw, you guys remember seeing the graph where I added every single year and I added every single section, that basically totaled 178. It came to the total of 178, okay? And then we add the $1,000 deposit for rental, right? Because they're renting, so they're asking them for deposit. So now we're at 179 total that the renter has been paying over the last 10 years. Because why? Rent has gone up. It hasn't stayed the same. It's gotten more expensive. And here they are, the renters, with this money in, basically, I would say it's equivalent to putting that money in the trash can, because they're not going to gain any benefit from it, right? So there's $179,800 in the trash in that renter, with that renter, right, for the last 10 years. If we compare it to the ownership, we compare it to the Hernandez family that decided to buy in 2013, what did they pay? They paid $96,000 total in monthly payments every single year up to 2013. So technically speaking, plus their down payment, because you remember the down payment and closing costs was about $9,000, almost $10,000. So in total, we're looking at 105. 105,300 is the total money invested in becoming an owner in the last 10 years, okay? So if we do the math, we're saying, okay, right there, technically speaking, right off the bat, being an owner is less expensive over time than being a renter. Now let's keep going. When you look at this, what we're saying, basically, we're summarizing is the Hernandez family paid $105 to be an owner, to live in this property for the last 10 years, okay? $105. The renter paid approximately $179,000 to rent that property. Now let's look at the benefits. Let's look at what happens for each, okay? What do they have today? 2023, what do they have? Let's summarize really quickly the renter side, okay? The renter has zero equity. The renter has to renew every time that rental agreement expires. There's a renewal that has to be processed. And that renter has to notify if he wants a pet, and he has to pay additional fees if there's a pet involved. The renter cannot make improvements unless he gets permission. So every single thing that the renter wants to do, add, modify the house in order for it to be home, well, guess what? The landlord has to approve it, check off on it, and say yes. You cannot bring in more people into the house than what the contract stated. And if you do, you must notify that landlord. So that means that if you kind of want to bring in an additional, family member, an additional roommate, you're going to have to notify the owner, and the owner has to approve it or, approve or disapprove. And then this is the most important part for me, is there's nothing to pass on, right? As a renter, you don't have the wealth opportunity. You have nothing that you can pass on to husband, wife, children, family members, nothing. Why? Because you technically have no type of right over that property. All right. But the last part and very important part is, as a renter, you also have to understand that you will be in the cycle of being a renter, and there's no end date. I want you to keep this in mind. This rental circle, this complete circle of being a renter doesn't have an end date, okay? There's never going to be a date in the future where all of a sudden someone comes over to you and says, gosh, you know what, Maria, you have been an amazing renter for the last 50 years. I appreciate you tremendously. Thank you for making your payments on time. As a renter, I want to give you a certificate, and then I also want to give you a check for $10,000, $20,000 as a reward for, having such great, habits and making sure that you make your payments on time. As a renter, no such thing exists. You will never see that day come. There is no end date for you. You will have to continue to renew your rental agreement over and over and over. You will have to continue to find the next property where you're going to live in. You're going to continue to hunt for that next apartment, for that next opportunity, and possibly constantly be renegotiating your rental agreement over and over and over. The rental market changes, it goes down a little bit, great, what an advantage for you. The rental market continues to go up. Well, it's unfortunate, but again, you have to go with the rhythm of what's happening in the rental market. And so you have very little control and no date, no future date in sight, in mind, where you're gonna have peace, or where you're gonna have the opportunity to rest, or where you're gonna have an opportunity not to make any more payments, right? You basically have to. If you are going to require a place to live in, if you're going to need a place to live in, well, guess what? Right next to that is going to be attached the rental fee, the rental cost for you. So there's no end date in mind. That's huge, and that's super important for you for you to really process and for you to really understand that as a rental, there's going to be no end date. Now let's go to the family Hernandez, where they bought in 2013, and let's look at how things look for them. So today, 2023, they have equity of $206,500, okay? That means that if they cash out, they're going to have $206,000. They also have a fixed payment since 2013 for that mortgage, and that fixed payment is $800. Okay? Because you got to remember, every time the rent went up, or every time the market went up, or the interest rate went up, it didn't matter for them because they locked in their payment in 2013, which is great for them, right? Because the prices were incredible. So they have an $800 payment today, which obviously they love. But the next part, which is amazing, is they have 20 years left to pay off their debt in full. That means that they have 20 more years to go. Then that mortgage will be paid completely off. So what am I saying with this is there's an end date right there. 20 years from now is when they will no longer have a mortgage payment. That means no more interest and definitely no more principal. That means that their property is going to be owned free and clear by them. Okay? So when those 20 years, let's just say that the Hernandez family decides to continue making those $800 payments every single month for the next 20 years, that means that when that date comes, their balance is going to be zero. They're going to owe zero, and therefore they're going to stop making payments on the mortgage. The only payment they're going to have to make from that moment forward is insurance insurance and taxes. Because, why? Because insurance, in case something happens to the property, you want to be covered, you want to be protected. And then taxes, because those are costs that go into your city. And those, how much are they? Here in Vegas, I can tell you that taxes, we have one of the best states for property taxes. We're very inexpensive compared to other states. So I can tell you that in this space, you're going to be right around possibly a couple $1,000s for taxes. Give me one quick second here. So a couple $1,000s for taxes. Taxes are also controlled by the value of your property, but we're talking about a couple $1,000. That means it's going to be about $200 a month in taxes, maybe another $100 in insurance. You're talking about a $300 payment for those two services. So no more mortgage payment, okay? Plus you have the property and you have all the equity that it has built over the last 20 years. So again, there's an end date in mind. The next thing is you can pass this property on to your family members, your spouse. You have something to leave behind when it's time for you to go, right? And this is basically the beginning of starting something that I love to really talk about is generational wealth, because many of us did not have it. Many of us had to start from zero. And so it's great that if you are planning for the future and you have something to leave behind for your loved ones, that gives them a little bit of a leg up. That gives them a little bit of an opportunity. You're really helping them out, whether it may be a big house and a big estate, or whether it's a condo. It does not matter. You're leaving something behind instead of leaving problems, debts, and other things that we see way too often. So here, by you focusing on buying this property and committing to that 30-year mortgage payment, but many of you can actually pay off these mortgages in less time. For example, in this case, let's say the Hernandez family says, you know what, $800 is super inexpensive. Everyone right now in today's world is paying $2,000 a month. Why don't we send additional money to our mortgage payment every month? And what if the Hernandez family decided to make it a goal for them to pay this home off in the next 10 years? Imagine that. So those are the type of conversations, those are the type of options that you have when you are an owner. You can kind of play around with your strategy. You can kind of, utilize a little bit of that information that we're sharing with you. You can go in a little bit deeper, but ultimately you can sit down and really plan out and make some moves for yourself and your family and those you love. So being an owner gives you that control. What else happens there is you have the opportunity exists in your property to increase or bring in some additional income. Why? We're seeing it right now. A lot of you and a lot of folks out there that own their homes, guess what they're doing? They're renting out a bedroom. They're renting out a bedroom or two, and because rents are so high right now, they know that they're renting out these bedrooms for $500, $600, $700. And guess what? They're getting rented. They're renting it to, coworkers, family members, a good friend, and they're bringing in extra income into the household with this property they own. Okay? There's that opportunity. And then last is you don't have to be asking for permission when it comes to improving the property. You can do whatever you please. You can do whatever you like. Why? Because it is your property. Now, when I say whatever you please, whatever you like, it is important to mention that when you're a homeowner and you're making some, changes or adjustments that start moving into kind of like the construction, adding square footage to your house, certain type of additions, you do have to go through the proper procedure to get permits, but that's on that's on the kind of the local level or in your city, kind of your guidelines. So you would go through that process. But even, for you to be able to add, maybe like something in the walls, something in the home, when you're a renter, many times you have very little options to do any of that. So as a homeowner, that opens up a whole lot of opportunity. And so again, you can hopefully see based on the two examples here, being a renter being a homeowner has been very different in the last 10 years, okay? So in the last 10 years, we could easily say, all of us could easily say, you know what, Nora? Well, it makes sense. Houses in 2013 were so much cheaper. Houses in 2013, it made sense to buy them. Now, not so much, right? And I agree with you. Many of you have this idea, right, that it's no longer the right time to buy because of rates and because of the home prices, right? So I'm going to get into that because, of course, it would have been easy, right? In hindsight, it would have been great to have bought something in 2013. But many of you maybe didn't even have that option, right? So now let's look at what would be next, right? Is it still a good time to buy today, right? So based on the interest rates and based on the price, is it still a good time? So now this is the part where we're going to get to project a little bit moving forward, and I'm going to show you the numbers, but now we're going to look and we're going to start looking at the future, and we're going to basically work with numbers that are the today numbers, okay? So let's get started right there. So same thing, my friends. Let's look at this graph here. What we're seeing is the 2023, and again, we're left with a house that is $400,000, okay? And we're saying that that same house, okay, for $400,000 today, you could possibly rent that same house for $2,000, okay? And you can rent it for $2,000. And we're saying that your mortgage payment is going to be $2,700 if you buy it today, okay? $2,700 times 12. So here we have it clearly. It is way cheaper to rent right now than to buy. And this is us comparing a similar house, okay? 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And I'm actually even going a little bit higher when it comes to purchasing because I want to give you guys kind of the benefit of the doubt. And instead of me being super, kind of leaning the numbers towards the buying side, I want to actually lean more towards favoriting the renting side. So technically speaking here, we're saying, okay, well, you can rent a house, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, $2,050. Some of you might say, well, no, they're charging me way more than that. But we're using kind of the median, okay? So if we project that and we just focus and we just say, okay, let's project that for the next 10 years, 2024, 2025. And here I'm even doing a very minimal increase in rent. I'm doing nothing major. It's a very minimal $50, $100 here. So you could see that I've kept it super conservative in regards to increasing the rental, right? And so here we have all the way to 2028, if rents continue to increase, that same house could end up being around $2,300. And many folks from California might still say, oh gosh, that's cheaper than California. So that's why our rents here in Vegas are going up. So we're all the way up to 2028, okay? Now, if we look at the right side, again, we bought in 2023, which means that we bought today. Our mortgage payment, technically speaking, won't change, right? It won't change. I'll speak on this a little bit further, but let's just say it does not change. It's going to stay at $2,700. This is what we're spending every single year to be homeowners, and we can continue to push that forward into 2033. And same thing, right? Our rents, let's say our rents end up plateauing or end up getting to the highest point at $2,500 by 2033. So 10 years from now, let's just say that the same house that I'm able to rent today, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, by 2033, I'm gonna rent it for $2,500, okay? And let's just say that that same house, again, I bought it in 2023, and my mortgage has been and has stayed at $2,700, okay? So very simple. We've added everything up. We're looking at the numbers. Hopefully you guys can agree with me. Again, this is a projection. I'm not guaranteeing these numbers when it comes to the rental and, in regards to the purchase, well, it's pretty much the same price, right? So I'm telling you, this is where the interest rates are today, and we're grabbing this estimate based on a house that's worth $400,000 today, okay? So we're looking at the numbers. We've added let's look at what's going on. Let's just use as an example if it was the Hernandez family again. The Hernandez family again bought in 2023, which is now, okay? And or the renter rented, right? 2023. And so when we're looking at the renter, we know that renters today are being asked for more. We know that renters today have to give their first and last month rent as a deposit. So basically 2 rental payments. So let's just say that the deposit's going to be $5,000 that they're going to ask you for on a house. So the deposit's $5,000. Let's now go forward and say, how much would it cost you to buy a house right now? Well, you need to have your down payment for sure. And right now we know there's programs where banks are helping you with closing costs. We know there's down payment assistance programs where you're getting maybe some money from government, some special incentives that are out there for you. So we're saying that today, in order for you to buy, you're going to need around $15,000. Now, it is important to say that if you are eligible for even more programs out there, that $15,000 might even be less. But again, I'm being conservative and I'm saying, you're getting a little bit of help, you're not getting a lot of help. So with that little bit of help, you need $15,000 out of pocket today. So we look at those estimates as well, and now we go and we summarize. Let's pretend that it's 2033 today. What would the numbers look like if it was 2033? Okay, that means down here is that you've approximately paid $299,000 just in rental payments, okay? $299,000, okay? And how much have you paid to own that house? Because you've been paying $2,700 a month since 2023. You're at $324,000. That's what you've been paid. That's what you've paid in the last 10 years. Now, if we add the $5,000 deposit and if we add the $15,000 for your down payment, this is where the grand total is. We're at 305 and we're at 339. Okay, so what follows? So this is where it gets interesting. Okay, so where it gets interesting is the fact that you guys are going to get to see something that's very, very interesting. I'm telling you that the renter is paying the 304,400. Absolutely. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, you guys are seeing over here, the Hernandez family, if they bought, you guys are seeing that they've paid $338,000 in mortgage payments. But why am I saying that they're only negative $238,000? I'm saying that is because I'm giving them about $100,000 in equity that they've gained, that they've built in the last 10 years. And for this, why am I saying this? Because I'm giving them an estimate of appreciation of an approximately 2.5%. 2.5% appreciation is super low. The normal appreciation is between 4 to 6% every year. But we're going to estimate that our market is kind of getting close to, it's the top pricing. I don't know that that's the truth right now, but let's just say that we're going to be very conservative and houses are not going to go up that much higher today. So if we do an increase of 2.5% year over year for the next 10 years, we're estimating that the equity for this family, the Hernandez family, would be $100,000. So technically speaking, comparing 2023 to 2033, this is the gain and this is where you would be, okay? Basically, as a renter in 2033, you would have zero equity. You would have paid around $300,000 in rental payments, okay? It's a lot of money. Plus all the other things, the similar things. You can't have your pets or you pay extra. You can't make any sort of improvements. You have to ask for permission. You can't bring extra people in to live with you unless you ask and get permission. And for sure, there's no type of equity or wealth building opportunity because guess what? You own nothing. You are a renter. So all of that is on the renter side. On the owner side, what do you have? If you did buy today, worst case scenario, you bought today, 2023, 10 years pass. And during those 10 years, here's what I'm saying. That's what I'm telling you, that I'm actually being even super conservative on the ownership side. I'm saying your payment hasn't changed in the next 10 years, which really, I'm telling you that we're looking at the market in the next 10 years, and we know that if there's a shift or there's an opportunity in the market where interest rates go down, you as a homeowner are going to have the opportunity to quickly refinance and lower your monthly payment. Lower your rate, lower your monthly. But I'm not saying that right now. I'm not doing the numbers based on a refinancement in 5 years, because I want to be extremely conservative, and I want to give you guys, I'd rather give you guys really conservative numbers and you guys hit those and really go even higher than that, than to really confuse you and say, oh, well, if you refinance in 5 years, then your payment would be reduced $300-400. Now we're saving that every single month. We're going to add that into the math. No, I'm saying in the next 10 years, you're keeping your monthly payment at $2,700. Those $2,700 a month, if you're making that payment, you still have the opportunity to have equity of $100,000. That means that out of all of those payments that you've made, you really have saved. You will be able to save if you decided to sell that property, in 2033, say, you know what, Nora, I want to sell it. I'm done. I want to move, or whatever the case may be. You're going to have the opportunity to sell and be able to cash and receive a cash check of $100,000. Again, very different from the check that a renter is going to get, which is zero. So $2,700 is your locked in a month, okay? It's not going to be fluctuating. It's not going to move. If you get a fixed loan, which most of you guys are, it's going to stay at that. But what you do have the opportunity to do is once rates go down, you have the opportunity to refinance and lock in a better rate and a better payment. So that leaves you with a window of opportunity and a window of savings in the future, okay? The next part, which is the most important part, is after 10 years have passed and it's 2033, you will only have 20 more years left to pay this mortgage payment. Please listen to that carefully and understand what that means. 10 years have passed, you only have 20 years left, and once you complete those 20, that 20-year sentence, I like to call it, right, saying funny, it's a sentence, but it really is, it's a mortgage, it's your contract, so that you still have left another 20 years in that mortgage. But the best part is you have a date in mind. You know that when those 20 years hit that are left, you no longer are going to have a mortgage payment. No longer. Your mortgage payment is going to be zero. It's going to be paid off. And all you're going to be left with is taxes and insurance, which is way less. So there is basically hope, right, in the horizon. There is something to look forward to in the future. I mean, 20 years seems like a very long time, and it is, but it's going to pass, my friends. And whether you're a renter, an owner, it's going to come, and it's going to pass. And you rather be paying off that mortgage so that eventually you have that total gratification that you've paid off your home and that you have no monthly payment. Tell me that it wouldn't be something that's exciting for you to start working or getting closer to your retirement years and know that your property is going to be paid off, and knowing that you have that, support, that now you can count on your pension, on your savings, and anything else you've done. But on top of that, you're not going to have a mortgage payment. You're going to be saving that $2,700 payment every single month. So the best part, again, out of all of this is that you have an end date in mind. You know that it's coming. And although it might not feel like it's approaching fast enough, and we hope that it doesn't approach us fast enough, but what we know is that it will get here. And when it does, you will have a zero balance. That's important. But on top of that, of course, wealth building. So you know that as you're paying this house off and the balance is smaller and smaller and your equity is building higher and higher, you know that you have something you can pass on to your family, to your folks, whoever you like, right? But you have something to give, right? So when you look at this information, I want to really ask you here, what is it that you are thinking? I think it's very simple, my friends. I think that it's two options that you have. There are two options that you and I both have, okay? And that option number one, is very clear. Option number one is you can be a renter, okay? You can be a renter, and there's nothing wrong with that. I understand that there's a lot of fears, there's a lot of hesitation, maybe a lot of objections, there's a lot of, I don't know what possibly can stand between you and becoming a homeowner. I know there's a lot of things that can stand, but I don't know what's the specific thing that, is holding you back, right? But so you do have that option, and it's okay if that's where you want to stay. That's one option, and it's your decision if that's the option you want. So option number one is being a renter. Option number two is being an owner. Option number two is being an owner. And I can tell you that option number two, and I hope that basically with my presentation, I did my best in really looking at the numbers and helping you project that you can clearly see that obviously 10 years ago would have been a really great time to buy a house. But today, 2023, it's still an amazing time to buy a house. Don't cheat yourself out of that opportunity because you are too busy listening to other people or listening to the comments or the unprofessional professional opinion of people that don't do this for a living, or just people that maybe haven't had a great experience overall, but that has nothing to do with you. And now you're holding back from making this decision that honestly, based on the numbers, and hopefully you can do this for yourself, you can look at what you've spent in renting all of this time, and you can truly understand the power of becoming a homeowner, the power of you owning that piece of real estate, that property, that home, that has become so important for many of us, right? Our sanctuary. Through COVID, it became the place where we were safe, where we could stay healthy. So being a homeowner, having your own place has never been as important as it is today. And that is why a lot of people will continue to see the property values go up. I know, again, that interest rates are not what we want them to be for you. I know that, again, the prices are not the ideal prices we would love to see for you. But the reality is that if you do the math, I promise you, you will still be able to see that there's a lot more gain in being an owner versus being a renter, especially if you're in it for the long haul. And I can tell you, all of us should be in it for the long haul, because we know, and hopefully we understand that, we all here are going to hopefully live at least, what is the average lifespan of a human being? What is it? Maybe 70, 80 years, 70, 80 years. That means that your adult life, let's just count 18 years out of that, your adult life, 60 years of adult life, you're going to need to have a place, to call home. Whether it's your own property or whether it's a property you're renting, you're going to need a place where you can call home. And the decision is yours. Do you want to rent it or do you want to own it? And hopefully with the numbers that I showed you today, the information that I showed you today, you, my friend, can really make that decision. Which one will you choose? Which one will you choose? Will you be an owner or will you be a renter? And again, we're here to help you, and we're here to give you information and hopefully show you the path to becoming a homeowner. We respect you. If you decide to continue to rent, that's okay. But if you are looking to become a homeowner, we want to be in alliance with you. We want to show you the way. We want to help you, get rid of all the, blockages and all the hurdles in the process, because we know there's many, especially today. And we want to be your allies and support you through this process so that we can help you through it so you can eventually get the keys to your house. Again, hopefully the numbers have showed you clearly that becoming a homeowner completely outweighs being a renter. The power, the peace of mind, and the opportunity to build generational wealth is just second to none. There's nothing like it, and definitely being a renter, you are in this unfortunate tight place of zero options, zero control, and you will be there forever because a renter absolutely doesn't have these opportunities to grow their equity or, do anything in regards to the real estate. When you're the owner, you have options, many of them. So again, I invite you to please take a look at this. We're here to help you. We're here to serve you. Please, again, do not hesitate to contact us and reach out to us. Hopefully this information is useful. Please let us know how we can help you. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. Let us know what questions you have so we can continue to deliver content that you enjoy and that you find useful. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.